The alien ship cut through Earth's clouds like a knife, its sleek metal body reflecting the morning sun as it approached Seoul. People stopped and stared, pointing at the sky where the massive vessel slowly descended. Military jets circled but kept their distance as ordered. Director Kim Dae-ho straightened his tie and tried to calm his racing heart. At 55, he had seen much in his diplomatic career, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Around him, the assembled honor guard stood at attention, their faces betraying the same mix of fear and wonder he felt. "It's really happening," whispered his assistant. "Men. Actual aliens." Kim nodded. "Remember the protocol. No sudden movements. No unauthorized communications." The ship, nearly 300 meters long, touched down with surprising gentleness on the landing zone prepared outside the city. Steam hissed from its underside as pressure equalized. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then, with a soft musical tone, a seam appeared in the seamless hull, widening into a doorway. A ramp extended, and several beings emerged. They walked upright like humans, but were taller and more slender, with skin that shimmered faintly in the sunlight. Their leader wore an elaborate garment that changed colors with each movement. "Director Kim," the alien said in perfect Korean, its voice melodious but clearly artificial. "I am Ambassador Lark of the Galactic Council. We appreciate your welcome." Kim bowed slightly. "On behalf of Earth, I welcome you. We have prepared accommodations and—" "That won't be necessary," Lark interrupted. "Our ship provides all we require." The alien's large eyes, silver with vertical pupils, studied Kim. "We have observed your species for some time. Your technological development is quaint." Kim felt a flash of irritation, but maintained his diplomatic smile. "We look forward to learning from each other." "Yes," said Lark. "Learning." Over the next 7 days, the aliens, who called themselves the Myth, demonstrated technologies that left Earth's scientists speechless. In a controlled demonstration, they showed how their ships could travel faster than light, using what they called fold space. They healed a terminally ill patient by simply scanning her with a handheld device. They created and manipulated energy fields that defied Earth's understanding of physics. At the Seoul Convention Center, Ambassador Lark addressed the United Nations representatives assembled there. "The Galactic Council governs 327 sentient species. We maintain peace and order through shared knowledge and strict protocols. Earth may join as a protected species, receiving certain technologies and trade rights." The projected images behind Lark showed beautiful alien worlds and advanced cities. "Your people will benefit greatly from medical advances and energy solutions." "And what does Earth provide in return?" asked the British representative. Lark's expression remained unchanged. "Resources, cultural artifacts, biological samples, and compliance with Council regulations, of course." The regulations, when presented, sent shockwaves through the assembly. Earth would be restricted from developing certain technologies, particularly military systems. All space exploration would require Council approval. Resource-rich areas of Earth would be under Council management. That evening, Director Kim gathered with world leaders in a secure room swept for listening devices. "This is colonization, not partnership," said President Rio of Brazil. "They're treating us like children." Colonel Park Sun-mai, head of Asian Coalition Forces, slammed her fist on the table. "These restrictions will leave us defenseless. They're limiting our military development while gaining access to all our resources. Their technology is centuries beyond ours," countered Chancellor Meyer of Germany. "We have little choice but to accept." Kim looked around the room at the worried faces. "The Council has made it clear these terms are non-negotiable. If we refuse, they've implied other species might not be so peaceful in their approach to Earth." "So we just surrender?" Park asked, her voice tight with anger. The American president cleared his throat. "What about Project Nemesis?" The room fell silent. Project Nemesis was Earth's most classified military project, a revolutionary spacecraft design developed in secret at Moonbase Alpha on the far side of the moon. Only 12 people in the room knew of its existence. The myth don't know about it, Kim said quietly. Their scans haven't penetrated the moon's far side shielding. At least not yet. How long until Nemesis is operational? Asked the Russian president. Dr. Han estimates 2 years minimum, Park replied. But with alien technology to study, maybe sooner. Kim looked at the draft agreement on the table. We should agree to their terms publicly. Buy time. Meanwhile, we accelerate Project Nemesis in absolute secrecy. And if they discover what we're doing? Asked Chancellor Meyer. Kim's expression hardened. Then humanity will be in the same position we are now, at their mercy. But if they don't? He let the thought hang in the air. The vote was unanimous. 3 days later, in a ceremony broadcast worldwide, Director Kim signed the Earth Council Accord, while Ambassador Lark looked on with what seemed like satisfaction. A wise decision, Lark said afterward, as cameras flashed. Your species shows promise. Kim smiled politely. We're eager to learn. That night, aboard a stealth transport to the moon, Kim reviewed the transmission from Colonel Park. Project Nemesis was being accelerated. Earth's best scientists were being quietly relocated to Moonbase Alpha. Alien technology would be studied and adapted. As Kim looked out the small window at Earth growing distant, he thought about the condescending way Ambassador Lark had spoken to them. Quaint, he had called human technology. He thought of the restrictive terms of the agreement, of the resources Earth would lose. They think we're primitive, Kim whispered to himself. They think we'll just accept their terms and be grateful. He clenched his fist. They have no idea what humans are capable of when backed into a corner. The transport turned, and the dark side of the moon came into view. Somewhere below, hidden from alien eyes, Project Nemesis waited, humanity's secret answer to an uncertain future among the stars. Earth had changed a lot in 5 years. The streets of Seoul now featured floating transport pods that ran on clean energy provided by the Council. In hospitals across the world, diseases that once claimed millions of lives were being cured by alien medical technology. Council overseers stood in every major city, their tall, slender forms now a common sight among humans. On the surface, humanity appeared grateful. People smiled and nodded at the aliens who had brought such wonders. Behind those smiles, however, many remembered the price. 20% of Earth's mineral resources shipped to Council worlds each year, strict limits on human technology, and Council approval needed for any space mission beyond lunar orbit. Deep beneath the lunar surface, far from Council monitoring stations, Moonbase Alpha hummed with secret activity. The sprawling underground complex had grown threefold, its existence still unknown to Earth's benefactors. Here, in chambers carved from lunar rock, humanity prepared its response to cosmic subjugation. Dr. Han Min-ho had not seen natural sunlight in 18 months. The brilliant physicist had voluntarily relocated to the hidden base, leaving behind his family with only occasional encrypted messages for contact. He stood now in the central test chamber, dark circles under his eyes, watching as the experimental drive core pulsed with blue-white energy. Power levels holding at 93%, called out one of his team members. Containment field stable. Han nodded, making notes on his tablet. The technology before him represented a breakthrough that should have been impossible. By studying the limited alien tech allowed on Earth and combining it with theoretical models humans had been developing before first contact, his team had created something entirely new. Dr. Han, Admiral Lee is here for the demonstration, his assistant said quietly. Han turned to see Admiral Lee Jin entering the chamber, flanked by security personnel. The Admiral, once South Korea's highest-ranking naval officer, now commanded Earth's secret space force, a position unknown to the general public or the Council. Admiral, Han bowed slightly. We're ready for the full power test. Lee nodded, her sharp eyes taking in the experimental setup. The Council inspectors complete their monthly lunar survey yesterday. We have a clear window for testing. Han led the Admiral to the observation booth and sealed the reinforced door. Through the thick viewport, they could see the drive core, the heart of Project Nemesis. Begin test sequence, Han ordered through the communication system. Engineers moved with practiced precision, initializing systems and monitoring readouts. The drive core's glow intensified, casting everything in a ghostly blue light. Energy output is stable, Han told Admiral Lee as they watched the power levels rise. By reverse engineering elements of Council tech and combining them with our quantum theories, we've created something they've never seen. Will it work for a vessel the size of Nemesis? Lee asked, her expression serious. The scaling calculations check out. This drive will allow Nemesis to travel faster than any Council ship, with a smaller energy signature. They won't see us coming until we want them to. The core flared brightly, then stabilized at full power, a miniature star contained by fields of human design. The engineers erupted in muted cheers. Lee's normally stern face showed a rare smile. How soon can we install it in the ship? 2 weeks for this version. The other 3 Nemesis vessels will follow 1 month apart. The Admiral nodded. Good. The Council grows more demanding each year. Their latest resource quotas will strain many regions to breaking point. After the successful test, Han grabbed a quick meal in the facility's cafeteria. The food was simple but nutritious. Everything in Moonbase Alpha was designed for efficiency. As he ate, a news broadcast played on the wall screen. The Council ambassadors stood with Earth's politicians, announcing a new medical center in Africa. Such generosity, muttered a scientist at the next table. They give us medical tech while taking the very minerals we need to build our own. Han silently agreed. While the alien technology had helped in many ways, the restrictions were becoming more obvious. Humans could travel to Council-approved space stations, but needed permission for any research. Earth factories could produce Council-designed products, but were prohibited from developing competing technologies. Meanwhile, hundreds of Council mining operations stripped Earth's most valuable resources, shipping them off-world with minimal compensation. Aboard the massive Council mothership orbiting Earth, Science Officer Todd walked quickly through the curved corridors. Unlike most myth, she had spent significant time studying human culture rather than just their resources. What she had discovered troubled her. She entered the command center and approached Supreme Commander Zinn, who was reviewing resource extraction reports. "Commander, I request a moment of your time," she said formally. The commander looked up, annoyance visible in his silver eyes. "Officer Ta, I hope this isn't another report about human cultural anomalies." "Sir, it's about their technological adaptation rate. My analysis shows they're integrating our permitted technologies at a pace 40% faster than any other species we've encountered. Their historical records show remarkable ingenuity when threatened. And I believe we should reconsider our security protocols. Several resources allocated for medical facilities have been diverted in ways our tracking systems can't fully account for." The commander laughed, the sound like crystal bells. "Officer Tai, you give them too much credit. Their primitive minds cannot possibly comprehend our advanced systems. Focus on the resource extraction protocols instead." "But Commander, their historical pattern off." "I've reviewed your previous reports," he interrupted. "Humans are clever animals, yes, but still centuries from being a concern. The energy signatures from their facilities match expected patterns. Their space activities remain within permitted boundaries." He waved a slender hand dismissively. "Return to your regular duties." Ta hesitated, then bowed. "As you wish, Commander." As she left the command center, Ta felt a growing unease. The humans smiled too much in Council presence. They accepted restrictions too easily. Something wasn't right, but without evidence, her concerns would continue to be dismissed. Little did she know that 200 meters beneath the lunar surface, the first full-size Nemesis drive was being installed in a warship unlike anything the Council had ever encountered. A vessel born from human determination and built in absolute secrecy, its systems shielded from alien detection by technologies the Council believed impossible for humans to develop. The silent forge of humanity's rebellion continued its work, counting down to the day when the balance of power would shift forever. The red alert sirens woke Director Kim from a deep sleep. He fumbled for his phone, squinting at the bright screen. The message was brief. Emergency. Priority to HQ. MNEDA. 20 minutes later, he rushed into the Earth Defense Command Center in Seoul. The atmosphere was tense. Screens showed chaotic scenes from Mars and lunar outposts. "What's happening?" he asked Colonel Park, who stood staring at the main display. "We're under attack," she said, her face pale. "The Vorn fleet appeared near Mars orbit 90 minutes ago. No warning, no demands. They just started firing." Kim felt his blood run cold. The Vorn were mentioned in Council records as a non-aligned aggressive species from the Outer Rim. Earth had been warned about them, but told not to worry. The Council's protection would keep them safe. "Casualties?" he asked, dreading the answer. New Shanghai colony on Mars took direct hits. Early estimates are 60,000 dead. Olympus Mons research station completely destroyed with all 400 personnel. Park's voice cracked slightly. The public lunar bases are also under attack. The Vorn bypassed Council observation posts somehow. Kim stared at the footage. Massive angular ships rained destruction on the human settlements. The defensive systems, limited by Council restrictions, were failing quickly. "What about Moonbase Alpha?" he whispered. "Secure so far. It's still hidden from both the Vorn and the Council." Kim nodded. "The Nemesis ships. Ready, but we need authorization to deploy." "Where are the Council forces? They're supposed to protect us." One of the communications officers looked up. "Ambassador Lark is requesting to speak with you, sir." The alien's face appeared on the main screen. Despite the crisis, Lark maintained that infuriating calm the myth always displayed. "Director Kim, we are aware of the current situation." Kim stepped forward, fury building in his chest. "Aware. The Vorn are slaughtering our people. We demand Council protection under Article 7 of our agreement." Lark blinked slowly. "The Council is deliberating the appropriate response. These matters require careful consideration." "Careful consideration," Kim shouted, losing his diplomatic restraint. "Millions of lives are at stake. Our colonies are being destroyed right now." "We understand your emotional response," Lark said. "The Council will convene an emergency session within 12 hours to determine the proportional intervention." 12 hours? We don't have 12 hours. "I'll update you when the Council reaches a decision," Lark said, then ended the transmission. The room fell silent. Then Colonel Park spoke. "They're not coming, are they?" Kim stared at the blank screen. "Not in time." Over the next 3 days, the death toll mounted. The Mars colonies fell one by one. The Moon's surface facilities were reduced to rubble. Only the hidden Moonbase Alpha remained intact. The Vorn ships, having destroyed most human outposts, formed a blockade around Earth, destroying any vessel that tried to leave the atmosphere. Earth's leaders gathered in the emergency bunker beneath Geneva. President Choi looked at the grim faces around her. "The death toll has reached 2 million, the Secretary General reported. "Most of our off-world citizens are gone." "And the Council?" President Choi asked. Kim answered, his voice bitter. "They'd finally arrived. 3 defense vessels. They've established a perimeter around Earth, but refuse to engage the Vorn directly. They're just watching." "I requested a meeting with Ambassador Lark," said the European Union president. He explained that Council policy is non-intervention in species conflicts beyond establishing containment. "Containment?" Colonel Park spat the word. "They're not protecting us. They're making sure the fighting doesn't spread to their precious territories." The video screen lit up. Ambassador Lark's face appeared, as calm as ever. President Choi stepped forward. "Ambassador, The Vorn have destroyed nearly all our off-world colonies. They're positioning for an Earth assault. We need the Council to engage them directly. The Council has determined that direct engagement would violate our principles of proportional response, Lark replied. The defensive perimeter will prevent Earth itself from being destroyed. And the millions already dead, Choi demanded. Lark's expression didn't change. This is the natural order, he explained. Lesser species must sometimes endure hardships. The Council will not risk a full-scale conflict. Species must adapt or perish. This is how evolution works across the galaxy. The screen went dark. President Choi looked around the room, her decision made. Enough, she said quietly. Colonel Park, contact Admiral Lee. Park moved to a secure terminal and entered a series of codes. The screen showed a lunar cavern where Admiral Lee waited. Madam President, Lee said with a formal nod. The Council has abandoned us. Admiral, is Nemesis ready? Yes, Madam President. All 4 vessels are operational. We've been tracking the Vorn fleet movements. We can launch immediately. President Choi took a deep breath. For 5 years, Earth had played the grateful, submissive species while secretly preparing for this moment. Now there was no choice but to reveal their deception. Admiral Lee, you have command authorization. Deploy the Nemesis fleet. Lee saluted sharply. Understood, Madam President. Dr. Han, Lee called to someone off-screen. Begin launch sequence. The feed switched to a massive underground hangar, where an enormous black ship was powering up. Unlike the smooth curves of Council vessels or the angular shapes of Vorn ships, the Nemesis had a distinctive human design, sleek yet powerful, with visible weapon systems unlike anything seen in Council space. Should we inform the Council? Asked one of the ministers. No, Kim said firmly. Let them see for themselves what the lesser species is capable of. President Choi nodded in agreement. She sat down heavily in her chair, the weight of her decision visible in her eyes. For 5 years they treated us like children, she said, taking our resources, limiting our development, and now abandoning us when we needed them. Today that changes. In the secure command center beneath Geneva, President Choi watched as the first signals came in from Moonbase Alpha, confirming launch preparations were complete. May God help us all, she whispered, then raised her voice to be heard clearly. Activate Nemesis. Now. Beneath the lunar surface, massive doors began to open. The time for hiding was over. Humanity's answer to the galaxy was about to be revealed. On the far side of the moon, dust rose in a perfect circle as hidden seams appeared in the lunar surface. What had seemed like natural terrain split apart, revealing a massive hangar beneath. From this dark opening rose humanity's secret, a warship that should not exist. The Nemesis emerged slowly at first, then accelerated smoothly into space. The vessel was unlike any ship human hands had officially built. Nearly 800 meters long, its hull was matte black with thin crimson lines running along its edges. It absorbed light rather than reflecting it, making it difficult to focus on even when in plain view. Inside the bridge, Captain Jun stood watching his crew prepare for battle. After 5 years of training in simulators, they were finally at their real stations. The bridge hummed with tense energy as systems came online. All weapons green, reported Weapons Officer Kang. Shields at full capacity. Captain Jun nodded. At 45, he had been a naval commander before being secretly recruited for Project Nemesis. His calm demeanor had made him the natural choice to command humanity's first advanced warship. Dried status, he asked. Han's special engine is performing perfectly, replied Engineering Officer Ba. We're getting 120% of projected power. Communications Officer Song turned from her console with a worried expression. Captain, we're being hailed by all Council vessels in the area. They're demanding we stand down immediately and identify ourselves. Jun settled into the command chair, his face hard. For years, he had watched the Council treat humans as children while taking Earth's resources. Now, as millions lay dead because of Council inaction, that time was over. Send one message to all channels, then maintain communications blackout, he ordered. What message, sir? Song asked. 3 words. We warned you. Song transmitted the message, then cut all communications as ordered. The bridge fell silent as the Nemesis accelerated toward Mars orbit, where the Vorn fleet continued its assault on the remaining human outposts. In the Council observation post orbiting Earth, Ambassador Lark watched with growing alarm as the unknown vessel appeared on their screens. What is that? He demanded. No human ship could have such a design. Science Officer Ta stepped forward, studying the readings. It appears to be of human manufacture, Ambassador. The energy signature is extraordinary. Impossible, whispered Commander Lark as more data flowed in. Their design principles. The energy readings. This cannot be. The ship is accelerating to speeds we believe beyond human capability, reported a Council technician. They'll reach Mars orbit in 17 minutes. Ambassador Lark's silver eyes widened. How? Their permitted technology shouldn't allow. Sir, interrupted another technician, we received a message from the vessel before they cut communications. What did they say? We warned you. Lark turned to Science Officer Ta, suddenly remembering her repeated warnings about human adaptability. Contact the Council immediately. Inform them of this development. The Nemesis approached the Vorn fleet at incredible speed. 27 Vorn warships were spread across Mars orbit, their angular forms bristling with weapons that had devastated human colonies. On the bridge, Captain June reviewed the battle plan with his officers. The Vorn ships have powerful forward shields but weaker coverage at their engine sections, he explained. Their weapons require 15 seconds to recharge between firings. We'll use that to our advantage. They're detecting us now, reported Sensor Officer Yoon. Vorn vessels are breaking formation to intercept. Captain June nodded. Begin attack pattern Alpha. Deploy quantum phase weapons. The weapons that extended from the Nemesis's hull were unlike anything in Council space. They glowed with a purple-blue light as they charge. Weapons ready, Captain, said Officer Kang. Fire. The quantum-phased energy beams lanced out, striking the lead Vorn ship. Instead of being stopped by shields, the beams phased directly through them, rematerializing inside the protection field. The Vorn vessel's hull ruptured, atmosphere venting into space as the ship listed to one side. Direct hit, reported Kang. Enemy shields were ineffective against our phase technology. As Dr. Han predicted, Jun said with grim satisfaction, target the next vessel. The Nemesis moved with impossible agility for its size, banking and rolling to avoid Vorn counterattacks while delivering devastating precision strikes. 5 Vorn ships were destroyed in the first 3 minutes of engagement. The remaining Vorn vessels regrouped, attempting to surround the human ship. They fired simultaneously, their energy weapons converging on the Nemesis. Gravitational defense system engaging, called Officer Ba. Around the Nemesis, space itself seemed to warp. The Vorn energy weapons curved away from their target, some even bending back toward their sources. 2 more Vorn ships were destroyed by their own redirected fire. Gravity manipulation systems at 90%, reported Ba. Working perfectly. Captain June leaned forward. Activate the singularity drive. This was the Nemesis's most powerful weapon. Technology reverse-engineered from studying Council ships, but developed in ways the aliens had never imagined. The front section of the Nemesis opened, revealing a swirling dark point that seemed to bend light around it. Singularity stable, reported Kang. Target locked. Fire. The miniature black hole launched forward, accelerating toward the center of the Vorn formation. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself contracted around the point. 7 Vorn ships were pulled inexorably toward the gravitational well, colliding with each other as they were compressed into the singularity. In the Council observation post, Science Officer Todd watched the battle recordings in silence. Her warnings, dismissed for years, played in her mind as the impossible human vessel single-handedly destroyed the Vorn attack force. She had studied human history and tried to tell her superiors that this species adapted faster under pressure than any other the Council had encountered. 22 Vorn ships destroyed, reported a stunned Council technician. The human vessel has taken minimal damage. Ambassador Lark's hands trembled. How is this possible? We monitored all their development. We restricted their technology. They deceived us, Ta said quietly. They showed us what we expected to see while building something entirely different in secret. On the Nemesis, the crew worked with practiced efficiency as they continued their attack. The remaining Vorn vessels attempted to flee, but the human ship was faster. The last Vorn ships are trying to jump to faster than light, reported Officer Yoon. Not today, said Captain Jun. Deploy FTL inhibitors. Another innovation flared to life, creating a field that prevented faster-than-light travel within Mars orbit. The trapped Vorn ships fought desperately, but were no match for the Nemesis. 27 minutes after engaging the enemy, Captain Jun received the report he had been waiting for. All Vorn vessels neutralized, Captain. Mars space is secure. A cheer went up from the bridge crew, quickly silenced by the captain's raised hand. This was just the beginning, he said soberly. Signal Earth Command. Mars is secure. What are our new orders? As the Nemesis turned toward Earth, the Council observation post scrambled to prepare for its return. What had been deemed impossible was now undeniable reality. Humanity had created weapons and defenses beyond Council understanding, and the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted dramatically. The Grand Council chamber on the Myth homeworld buzzed with angry voices. Over 300 representatives from various species gathered in the tiered seats, all focused on the floor where Ambassador Lark stood alone. His once proud posture was now bent with shame. The emergency session had been going for 3 days without break. The recordings of the Nemesis in battle played again and again on the massive screens, showing the human warship destroying the Vorn fleet with ease. How could this happen? Demanded the High Speaker, her voice echoing through the chamber. You assured us humans were primitive. You guaranteed their compliance. Lark's silver eyes were downcast. We monitored their official development closely. We had no indication. No indication, interrupted the Zila representative, his tentacles waving in agitation. The humans built 4 advanced warships under our watch. They developed weapons we've never seen before. Science Officer Ta stood nearby, recently promoted to the Advisory Council after her warnings about humanity proved correct. She spoke carefully. The humans showed remarkable adaptability. They studied our permitted technologies and developed new applications we never considered. They built their lunar base on the far side specifically to hide from our observations. The High Speaker turned her attention to Ta. You warned about this possibility. What else should we know about these humans? They thrive under pressure, Ta explained. Throughout their history, their greatest advances came during their most challenging times. The Council's restrictions may have actually accelerated their military development by giving them a common enemy to unite against. The chamber fell silent as this sank in. Then the High Speaker spoke again. We must reconsider Earth's status immediately. The Nemesis vessel defeated the Vorn fleet in under 30 minutes. The Vorn have troubled us for centuries, yet humans eliminated them in a single battle. The humans request a Council transmission, announced a communication officer. The High Speaker nodded. Put them through. The screen shifted to show Earth's new diplomatic chamber. President Choi sat in the center, flanked by Captain Jun in his black uniform and Director Kim. They looked confident, not like representatives of the lesser species. Greetings, Council members, President Choi said calmly. I trust you've had time to review recent events. The High Speaker straightened. The Council has reconsidered Earth's status, she announced stiffly. We're glad to hear it. President Choi replied with a thin smile. We have 3 more Nemesis-class vessels under construction. Perhaps now is a good time to discuss a more equitable relationship. The implied threat was clear to everyone. The High Speaker glanced at her advisors before responding. The Council proposes full membership status for Earth, with all associated rights and privileges. Captain June leaned forward. And our military autonomy. Our right to develop our own technologies without restriction. The Council recognizes humanity's right to self-defense. The High Speaker conceded. We propose a technology exchange program. Voluntary, of course. Director Kim spoke next. And the resource extraction agreements. To be renegotiated on equal terms. President Choi nodded. We will review your proposal and prepare a formal response. However, I can tell you now that Earth accepts the offer of full Council membership. After the transmission ended, the Council chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives argued that humans were too dangerous to be trusted. Others saw potential in alliance with such an innovative species. Science Officer Tai left the chamber quietly. Her new position gave her access to the full historical archives, and she wanted to learn more about these humans who had surprised the galaxy. Meanwhile, on the Nemesis, Captain June stood alone in his quarters, looking out a viewport as Earth rose over the lunar horizon. The beautiful blue planet looked peaceful from this distance. No one would guess the determination and ingenuity that had driven its people to create a warship that changed galactic politics overnight. There was a knock at his door. Dr. Han entered, looking tired but pleased. Captain, the upgrades to the other 3 vessels are complete. The Council won't know it, but our next generation will be even more advanced. June nodded. Good. We need to maintain our edge. Do you think they'll keep their word? Han asked. Will they really treat us as equals? They will as long as they fear us, June replied. The Council only respects power. They thought we were primitive, despite all the warnings Director Kim gave during negotiations. What happens now? Captain June turned back to the viewport, watching his planet grow larger as the Nemesis approached. Now we take our place in the galaxy, not as a protected species, but as equals. Maybe better than equals. Later that week, Earth's leaders gathered to sign the new treaty with the Galactic Council. The ceremony took place aboard the Nemesis, a symbolic choice that wasn't lost on the Council representatives. As they walked through the ship's corridors, their expressions showed a mix of fear and awe at what humans had created in secret. The treaty granted humanity full Council membership and complete military autonomy. The resource extraction agreements were rewritten, giving Earth fair compensation for its minerals. Human scientists would now have access to all Council technology databases. After the signing, President Choi addressed her cabinet in private. This is just the beginning, she said. We've earned their respect, but we must remain vigilant. Project Nemesis continues with increased funding. Director Kim nodded in agreement. The Council underestimated us once. They won't make that mistake again, but others might. In her new office on the Council homeworld, Science Officer Ta finished her latest report on human psychology. She had been studying Earth's history with fresh eyes. Their wars, their tenacity, their ability to advance under pressure, all pointed to a species that should never have been underestimated. Her research suggested that humans might soon become one of the dominant forces in the Council. Unlike other species who achieved technological advancement gradually, humans leaped forward in bursts of innovation, especially when threatened. As she submitted her report, a notification appeared on her screen. The first human scientific delegation would arrive next week to begin the technology exchange. Ta felt both excitement and apprehension. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was the catalyst. Back on the Nemesis, now in orbit around Earth, Captain June stood at the main observation window. The ship would soon become the flagship of Earth's new defense fleet. 3 sister ships would join it within months. Captain, called a young officer, the Council ships are departing. June watched as the sleek alien vessels moved away from Earth, no longer as overseers but as equals, perhaps even as supplicants. They mocked our warnings, he said quietly. They won't make that mistake again. The end.